continue to roar. I just want to say thank you so much for dialing in, and it's another opportunity to come today on online number 3. So this is the last Roarcon online as we are about to start tomorrow in the in-person contest. And I'm in the in-person Roarcon or conference. I just want to say, please unmute all of you as we are welcoming the speakers that are going to speak tonight to tell us those wonderful stories that we are going to vote at the end as to who was the best speaker in telling their story. Can we all unmute if possible and then do our roar as the roar has done it? Can you do our roar?
Roar! Roar!
Roar! I had a meow as well. The big cat and the small cats were all roaring. Thank you so much for doing that roar as you bring out and unleash your inner roar in this roar conference of Toastmasters District 74. Tonight, we are going to have 7 speakers delivering their stories. When they deliver their story, please be ready to vote and listen carefully to all their storytelling. And please, we urge you to participate in the voting for the best storyteller for tonight. There are 7 speakers that are going to speak. And please, you as the audience, you decide who is the winner. And the winner of tonight is going to have a prize. And that prize is the gala dinner with Vusi Tembekwayo on Saturday night. That ticket is ready for the person you are going to vote as the best storyteller tonight. So that is going to be the process. So be ready. The decision of who wins is up to you out of the 7 speakers that are going to deliver their speeches. My name is Matumi Siabi, the incoming financial director. I'm a day chair today for the Roar Conference online. Right now, I'm going to ask the very first speaker for today. And our first speaker is going to be Coralie Rutherford. Coralie Rutherford has been a Toastmaster for many years, and she has a story to tell. Can you please spotlight Coralie Rutherford to start with the story for tonight? Ladies and gentlemen, let's clap our hands, our virtual hands, to welcome Coralie Rutherford, who is going to deliver her story tonight. She's got 7 minutes. We have a timer, and I'm going to ask the timer to raise their hand so that they can be visible for everyone, and especially for the speaker. The timer, please raise your hand so that you can show, your video can show first on the screen for the benefit of the speakers. Over to you, Coralie Rutherford, with your story.
Mr. Day Chair, my title is Revenge, Death by COVID, ? The original death certificate said death from COVID, but Alban Reynolds had refused COVID vaccination because New Pharma, the company he started in 2018, was finalizing registration of a Chinese COVID vaccine. Alban caught COVID on the 15th of October 2022. But because of his age and symptoms, he was immediately isolated in hospital. At 4:30, 2 days later, after admission, a nurse in full PPE entered his ward with a box. On the box was written, "To Mr. Alban Reynolds, from his daughter Althea Brewer, Please taste the latest wine from my wine farm, World of Wind, that you bought for me, and give me feedback on the quality of this very special wine. Alban asked the nurse to open the box. Inside, a wine glass, a corkscrew, and a bottle of red wine, a blend of Syrah and Malbec, with the label Flamingo Flight. Fantastic, he said. But please, can you open the bottle, and then I will take my time tasting it. She opened the bottle with the corkscrew, somehow a little easier than normal, and left his ward. He then poured a glass of wine and read all the details on the label, allowing the wine to breathe before he approved the colour, got excited about the aroma, and finally took a sip. It tasted amazing, but there was a strange aftertaste. So he took another taste and then another, swirling each around his tongue, trying to identify the reason for the aftertaste. Suddenly, he couldn't breathe, he couldn't move. All the machines started flashing. In rushed all the nursing staff on duty, hooked him up to a respirator, called the doctor, who measured his BP, attached an ECG, then a defibrillator. No response. Suddenly, his heart stopped beating, all machines flatlined. His lungs, his heart had packed up. He was dead. No cardiac resuscitation could revive him. At 5:01 on the 7th of October, he was declared dead. His daughter was notified immediately, as his divorced wife and alienated son now lived in the US. A body bag was urgently sourced and his body transferred to the morgue. 2 male cleaners were kitted with hazmat and rapidly proceeded to clean and sterilize the single ward as their shift finished at 6. Fast forward to 6:30. A male nurse, Ezra, walks into the staff change room to the sight of 2 unresponsive men sitting on a bench, each holding a polystyrene cup with a nearly empty bottle of wine between them. Ezra quickly finds the doctor on duty, who declares both men dead, but expresses interest in the wine bottle. Where did it come from? How did it get there? Why were the men dead? First step, send the bottle to the lab for forensic testing. Second step, find out how it got in the change room. Lab analysis of the bottle and remaining wine showed high levels of the opioid analgesic fentanyl, enough to kill a person if they drank just 25 mils of wine, as would be done when at a formal wine tasting session. Immediately, the source of wine was traced. It was from the wine farm of Alban's daughter. But who put poison in the wine, and how did it get into the wine? Could it have been put in when the wine was bottled, or could it have been injected later through the cork? Did Alban's daughter put it in when bottling this bottle? The ongoing womanizing of her father, subsequent divorce from her mother, had caused great traumas. Did Alban's partner, Louise, who was the latest of his long line of lovers, put it in so she could be the sole owner of New Pharma? Why was his will altered and signed to give her ownership of New Pharma in the event of his death, just 3 days before he caught COVID and was admitted to hospital? Or was it one of the 3 nursing staff on the ward, or the matron, all of whom had worked for him in his original company, become his lover, seen career elevation, then rejection when he tired of them? Or could it have been his wife and son, rejected totally as per their divorce after numerous humiliation affairs with his female staff? On the business front, was it one of the companies he double-crossed? The company who bought for 20 million the product range of natural complementary products that were all market leaders, but the buyer discovered 3 years later he'd only bought the license to market the products. He didn't own the product range, so the value was minimal. Or the company he pretended to form a partnership with, then managed to take over ownership and market all the products, leaving the partner to die of pancreatic cancer and his wife penniless. Or the first company he founded, when he tied up with a major Indian company in order to source their excellent range of generics, with few competitors in South Africa. The company bought him out for an amazing fee, but he retained his position as chief executive until investigation proved he was using company funds to finance his personal development of a new company. Plus, he gave himself a huge bonus without board approval from any of the company directors, so he was fired. This is a short story. You will have to wait for the book to get the answer. But 3 months after Albin's death, Louise, his last lover and co-founder with him of New Pharma, is now the sole owner of New Pharma. The 3 nurses on the ward where he died and the matron of the hospital where he died are all shareholders in the company and hold senior positions in New Pharma. What do you think, Mr. Day Chair?
Thank you so much. What do you think? I like that question. So please consider all that has been said by Coralie on that wonderful story, that now all are shareholders who are around him. But what do you think? Let's leave it right there. And then right now, we are moving to the second speaker for today, and that is Nicola Mathieson. Nicola Mathieson is an astute Toastmaster from the APSA group. And Nicola has a wonderful story to tell us. Please remember, they have 10 minutes to speak. They have 10 maximum minutes to speak. And at 5 minutes, you will see green. And then at 8 minutes, you'll see yellow. And at 10 minutes, then we will see red. And remember to listen, because we as the audience are going to vote. Okay, I'm not allowed to vote. So it's all of you who are now listening to these wonderful stories that you're going to vote for the best storyteller for tonight. Now, welcome to the virtual stage, Nicola Mathieson, and clap those virtual hands as she's about to start her amazing story that we will listen to today.
Is your glass half empty or half full? Good evening, Day Chair, fellow Toastmasters, and guests. As I hold this glass in front of you this evening, what do you see? Do you see a glass that is half empty, or do you see a glass that is half full? You see, the answer depends on how you choose to see it. Personally, I see a glass that is full of opportunity. You may ask yourself, how is that so? Well, I could take the glass and drink the remaining water in the glass. I could fill it all the way up to the top, or I could simply tip the contents out. In fact, the options are endless. And I have the tendency to wake up every single day with my glass half full. And to illustrate this, let me tell you 3 stories about myself. Firstly, at the age of 6, picture this. Me, Nikki, yes, me, who a great deal of you know, behaving like a total tomboy. I am hanging and swinging hard on a jungle gym, behaving like a monkey actually, when the whole jungle gym comes crashing down with this little monkey still hanging on for dear life. The result? A huge gash to the forehead and blood everywhere. The next thing I remember, I'm in the doctor's rooms, busy getting stitches. And then on the way home, while I am savoring a lovely sucker that the doctor gave me for being such a brave girl, my mom asks, "So, Nick, are you going to be a hooligan again?" To which I solemnly tell her, "Mom, I promise I will never be a hooligan again." Well, Toasties, that is a promise that I never kept. I can promise you that. But you ask yourself, where is the element of the glass half full in the story? Well, the next day of school, instead of succumbing to all the whines from everybody, what happened? Are you okay? I prance around boasting about my stitches and telling everyone what a brave girl I am. And that earned me fame from that day forward. You see, I saw the positive. I chose not to see the negative. For my next story, move on a few years. I find myself feeling absolutely drained. I am weak. I feel nauseous and altogether terrible. And this time around, it's my mom again who is interrogating me about my behavior. She decides that I just want to take time off school and there's nothing wrong with me. So she plays her trump card by threatening me. "Nick, would you like me to make an appointment with the doctor?" To which I weakly implore, "Please, Mom, make an appointment with the doctor." Well, that convinces her. However, after examination, the doctor tells her there's absolutely nothing wrong with me. She is altogether highly annoyed with me. After all, she had to take time off work, and it's too late now for me to go back to school. So she grabs me and takes me home and puts me straight to bed. Off to work she goes. But it's not long before our helper is calling in an absolute panic. I had gone to the bathroom and fainted in the process. My mom is beside herself. She doesn't know what to do. She can't take more time off work. So she manages to call a doctor who agrees to make a house visit. Our helper opens the door and lets the doctor in. In less than 10 minutes, the doctor is anxiously calling my mom and telling her she has to get to hospital right away. I have meningitis and It's a matter of life or death. How do you see the glass half full here, Toasties? Well, what do? I have my lumbar puncture. I get admitted into a hospital. I'm in an isolation ward, and I proceed to get absolutely spoiled by all the hospital staff, earning kudos for being their best, bravest patient ever. Again, positive view, my choice. For the next story, let's shift the clock to 2013. I'm in a cozy job. I'm in the industry where it is steel, and I am content with everything that I am doing. When all of a sudden, boom, the company is bought out, and all of us are faced with that scary concept, the 3-syllable retrenchment. I'm divorced. I'm a single mom. Guys, I was scared. And this time around, it's not just my mom who's putting me back onto the straight and narrow. You've got this, my girl. You can do it. It's also the most important person in my life right now, my current fiance. And he was a new entity in my life at that time. But every single day, he encouraged me. You've got this. You can find the right thing. It will come along. Don't give up. Keep keeping on. And within 2 months, I started working at ABSA, and that's where I am today. I love my ABSA family, and I absolutely love my journey of growth and development with ABSA family. And so I'm just telling you that if you look at a glass like this again, I'm asking you to make the choice of not to view it as half empty, but to view it as full of every opportunity that you decide to make happen. You see, you also need to make sure that you have people in your corner who will call you out for behaving like a hooligan, as well as people who will challenge you, regardless of they could be wrong. But most importantly, surround yourself with people who encourage and lift you up. And then it is up to you to make the choice to have that tendency to wake up every single day with a glass that is always half full. I thank you, Day Chair, Toastmasters, and guests.
Thank you so much, Nicola. So let's appreciate her, as she indeed encouraged me as well to have a bottle of that is with water that is always half full. That's me, half empty me. I love it. So thank you so much for that encouraging stories of making sure that you always view life and take out that which is positive out of it. Our very next speaker is today's first What a Full View of Things, Nicola. Reminds me of whether you think you can or you think you can't. I love it. Thank you so much for those comments. Keep them coming. I will read them in between the amazing speakers we have lined up for you. Our very first speaker for today on the program has arrived. His name is Tafara Chingwe, Enias Chingwe, and he's going to tell us and share with us his story. Please remember, the speakers tonight have 10 minutes to speak, and you are the one who's going to vote for the best speaker tonight. And the best speaker will then get the prize of the gala dinner with Vusi Tembekwayo on Saturday night. So over to you, Tafara Chingwe, as he's delivering his story tonight. Let's unmute and clap hands or virtual hands. No, let's not unmute. Let's just clap our virtual hands as we give Tafara an opportunity to deliver his 10-minute speech and story that is prepared for us.
Fellow Toastmasters and all the guests, when my mother gave birth, the nurse told her, "You've got a baby boy." She said, "Yes." She was excited. Then she was told, "There's another one coming." That surprised her because those days there were no scans. So every child that gave birth to would be a surprise. She gave birth to a second bouncing baby girl. 2 kids, twins. What a way for her. This was indeed a double portion for her trouble. You see, when my mother gave birth to my siblings, she had 5 girls. In those days, if you didn't have a baby boy, you could be divorced. Or the elders would sit down and organize another wife. So my mother was on the verge of either getting another wife for my father or being divorced. So this was an exciting moment for her. She had proved herself that indeed she was a woman by giving a baby boy. When she looked at these twins, she looked to the left, to the right, and they were all very beautiful. She used a term, beautiful, for me, because she said, this guy, one day, women are going to fight for him because he's so beautiful. I'm saying in those days, I would have been called a yellow bone. The same with my sister, yellow bone. As you know, now we've got what we call 3 races that we've created. And on top is the yellow bone. The second is the brownie, the chocolates. And then those that are charcoal black, the clever blacks, they call them black diamonds. So I was at the top, yellow bone. And if you're a woman and you're yellow bone, you know that baby is, cows are coming home. You know it's money in the bank because they don't even have to be educated. Yellow bone doesn't have to be educated. Their looks can attract a politician. Their looks can attract the business person. And they just come and get swept. That's what a yellow bone is all about. So this was me at that moment. Immediately after she had given birth, my father arrived to this great news. And he took all of us, put us in a Scotch cart, and off we went to the farm. When we got there, there was a big feast. Everyone was excited. But in our culture, there was going to be a naming ceremony. In this ceremony, the highest bidder, the person who pays a lot of money, would then have the naming rights. In those days, the currency for that time were cows, sheep, goats, chickens. That was what they used to pay. My grandmother was so excited to see me because at that moment she remembered that she had lost her son some years ago. And she saw me as that reincarnation of her son. And immediately she said, I am going to name this child. This child is my son. And off he went and brought a cow. a heifer and said, this is the price for this child. My mother looked at my father, and my father looked aside, zipped his mouth, because he didn't want to try and take the shine from my grandmother. So he just kept quiet. But my mother wanted to name me. So she lost the naming rights, because my grandmother had a lot of cows. All her children had been married, and she was rich. My mother did not have the cows. Only my father had the cows. And my mother, for her to have the naming rights, she had to ask a cow from my father, which my father did not even want to listen to that. So my grandmother named me Tafara. Rather, my grandmother named me Enias. And my mother named me Tafara, the second name. And then to my sister, my mother did not have a contest. She just named her Farah, because with the 5 girls, this was going to be the 6th girl. You see, after that, my grandmother became very protective. I became grandmother's boy. She would call me, take me, give me milk, and spoil me. Even if my mother shouted at me or beat me up, I would rush to my grandmother and report it. And in no time, my grandmother would show up at my mother's house and say, why are you beating the apple of my eye? Don't you know that I paid a cow for him? He is mine. So leave him. Even if he is naughty, leave him. I'm the one to discipline him. And of course, this caused a bit of commotion. And I knew that I had a protector, and that protector was my grandmother. She was very protective of me, and she loved me to bits. She would, in the evening, she would call me with this hut, a thatched hut, and would sit with the bonfire, and she would have those great stories. You know, those stories that would move you. You know, those days we didn't have a television, we didn't have a phone, we didn't have anything, or even a radio. So she used the TV that we used was telling his vision using a story. And those stories moved us. It was like this big movie. Sometimes it would be a horror movie. You would not even dare to go out of the hut in the night. You'd just be stuck there. And during the night, you'd be dreaming all the horror things that you were told. That's how she used to tell her stories. They were so powerful, and would gather every night to that bonfire, listening to the stories. That was my grandmother. She did not want me to go anywhere except right at the place with her. Because she said, you are the apple of my eye, and I've paid a cow the naming right. And with it came with the benefits. I remember that time, my father even said, this child is going to stay with the grandmother because they are so connected together. My grandmother spoiled me. The little money that she had, she would give me to go and buy whatever I wanted to do, whatever I wanted to buy. Now, as I reflect back, because my grandmother passed on, my mother passed on, as I reflect back to that love that was given at that time, I can only feel grateful for being spoiled, for being the grandmother's boy. But at the same time, as I realize now, I became that child who almost broke the bond between my mother and my grandmother. Because every time I would report my mother, my grandmother, it would cause commotion. You know, with women, they would cause commotion. And my mother would go to my father and say, your mother is spoiling my child. I don't want him to grow like that. I want to grow him strong. But there was nothing that my father could do. I was under the safe hands of my grandmother. Who is that person that gave you life at the beginning? How has that shaped you to be where you are? You see, those moments shaped me to be what I am. Right now, the stories that I tell have been informed and have been bequeathed to me by my grandmother. I am grandmother's boy. Over to you, DJ.
Mother's boy. Thank you so much for that wonderful story. That is making us to think, who is that person in your life protecting you so much? Well done on that. Well done on the surprise baby boy, Tafara. We need to revive this naming rights culture to raise the Roarcon fees. Aibo, who's typing this? Is that Brighton? Okay, all right. And then I see there's an answer to Carolie's story that was typed by, also Brighton again. I suspect the nurses. Well done, Coralie, on a very, and can't wait for the book. Who done it story. Keenly waiting for the book because there's a suspicion that those nurses, the nurses. Okay, all right. And then, all right, we will continue reading, but right now it's time for CJ, Cornelius-John Jansen, to deliver his story to us. It's time for CJ. As CJ is coming up, please do remember that pay attention to the stories that are being told. Listen carefully to every word they're speaking so that when it comes, if possible, make some notes so that when it comes to the voting, you are able to make your decision, and you are the ones as the audience who are going to decide who the champion is of storytelling tonight. So right now we're asking CJ Jansen or Cornelius-John Jansen to deliver his story and share it with us so that we can continue in this wonderful journey of the wonderful speeches that are being delivered tonight. Over to you, CJ Jansen.
I'm sure I have quite a few baby boomers here tonight that would recall when we got access to social media. You would be so, every day on the cell phone to do what? To find your friends of long ago. And that's exactly what I did. I went onto Facebook and I was so inquisitive because I was out of school for many years. Remember, I'm a baby boomer. So my friends started from the early 70s, 1970 and on. So when we got Facebook, I wonder what happened to this boy when I was together in school. All right, yeah, I found one. There was one boy, particularly that I just had his name coming up and I thought, let me find out, where's Tori? Nickname Tori. Lo and behold, I found Tori and I was overjoyed because we were very good friends. We were actually, spending time, break time, playing soccer, rugby, whatever. We were just very, very close. I made contact with Tori. You know what he said to me, his first words? Yeah, Cornelius, your father used to favor you when he made you rerun that race. I was taken aback. I was looking forward to a lovely conversation and getting together and hear this guy but I had to reflect on his words. Please go back with me to 1970. That was the year when I started school. My father was a principal, and that specific weekend when we had athletics, he was away for a very urgent meeting. Me being 5 years old at that time, was actually a very fast athlete or runner. And the teacher, my sports teacher, decided I'm good enough to run against the under nines. So here we are on the day of athletics, my first ever big sports day. On your marks, get set. And I was waiting for go, because that's what I was used to all the time while we were practicing. But there was no go. There was just a gun that shot. And I was left behind because I had no clue I had to run. I was waiting for go. And the people shouted, go, 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 Cornelius, run, run. And there I dashed down my lane. But obviously I didn't make it. When my father came home the Sunday, he learned about the whole situation. The Monday, I didn't know his plans, but the Monday he gathered everyone and then he called out all the under 6 boys to come out. And the children were lining up next to this sports track. And there we were, the under 6 boys. We were made to rerun the race. I was not my real age group. And obviously I won the race. Did my father favor me? Did he? Or was it perhaps a second chance that I happened to learn, recur throughout my life? My dear friends, go with me to 1980, 10 years later, when I was 15. Tessa, who was a very good friend of mine today, she's a doctor in Canada. She was a brilliant pianist. She finished grade 8 UNISA exams. She was brilliant. And they asked me, I only did grade 5, but they asked us to be the guest artist at this very prestigious event. And I practiced my very classical piece so well that I didn't even need any sheet music. And I was playing my heart out. Now, this classical music piece had a very distinct term, da capo. And da capo, for those of you who are not familiar with music terms, means just basically you come to a certain point in the music that you're playing, and then you go back to the beginning, and then you play it right through to the end. And here I was playing. I absolutely nailed it. How do I know? My teachers came to tell me, my music teachers, they were complimenting me. They were saying, oh, wow, my father was fantastic. But in the audience, there was this woman who said, oh, shame, loudly. Remember, it was quiet in the auditorium. She said, oh, shame, he doesn't know what he's doing. Why did you say that? Because I had to stop and then go back to the beginning and then play through again. So she thought in her mind, he doesn't know what he's doing. Ladies and gentlemen, in the year 2020, the first online contest, it was a division contest. I qualified and I was ready. It was a story of my life. It was just about da capo, to start again. And I was facing the screen. I was ready. I was the last speaker. I was well prepared. I was so collected that evening. I was well dressed. Everything was just hunky-dory. I could hear the announcement, every speaker, their names, the title of the speeches, and then I even listened to all of their speeches. When it came to my turn, I was waiting and I was listening for my name. Silence. Dead Silence. And I was wondering, but maybe there's technical glitch. And then my son suddenly opened the door. Dada, they're looking for you. You must speak. I said, what? Oh, people, can you imagine? I was completely flustered. I didn't know what to do. I prepared my speech so well. Then I started my speech and I thought, oh no, that's not the way you were supposed to start the speech. And then I continued. And then I came to the middle section. Oh no, because I rehearsed it so well. And I was completely thrown out of the game. And I said, oh, stop. Oh no, I can't remember. I hit a blank. I couldn't remember anything. Well, there was that time 5 years ago, and that was on the 18th of April. Tonight is the 30th of April. 5 years later, I have another chance to tell the story. Now, I want to just take you to a wise saying that somebody said. He said, don't be afraid to start over again. This time, you're not starting from scratch. You're starting from experience. That's what I'm doing tonight. It's just peculiar, that every time these things happen in my life, I find myself having to go back to the beginning and then go through. And here I am tonight again. I get a chance to go back to the beginning and actually tell my story. Yes, there's always a time for a second chance for everyone. Second chance for me, second time for whoever. Thanks, my friends. I hope that my story at least inspired someone. I'm not here for the win, by the way. I'm just here to inspire someone. There's a second opportunity for you. Let's take it. Let's take it. Over to you, Day Chair, sir.
Take it, the second opportunity. Take it. Thank you, CJ, for that inspirational message. And we are indeed supported, and we feel what you are, the way, and I love the way you're presenting it. It is exemplary to us who are aspiring storytellers and who are trying and practicing the craft of effective storytelling, and we see it exemplified by seasoned Toastmasters like yourself. Thank you, sir. We appreciate that. I just want to welcome and to acknowledge the greetings we received from World Travelers Toastmasters Club from Region 9 in District 80. We see you and welcome. Thank you so much. And right now, we are going to our fifth speaker for today. That is Hannah Schmidt. Hannah Schmidt is going to deliver her story, and we are going to learn from the seasoned Toastmasters tonight. And this is exemplified. Watch out and learn. But please do remember, I want to remind you that be ready to vote, because you are going to vote for the best storyteller. I know CJ said he's not here for the win, but if you think he should win, it's up to you. And Hannah Schmidt is going to speak. Remember, they speak for 10 minutes. And over to you, Hannah Schmidt.
Yes, my title for my speech is Passport or Password. That is the title for my speech. Esteemed Toastmasters and global explorers or travelers. Passport or password? One unlocks the borders and the other one unlocks your screen. Whether you're using a passport or a password, you are not alone. You share the collective spirit of a global community. Mr. Teacher, my children have moved to New Zealand, the US, the UK, and Germany, prompting me to travel around the globe. My goal is clear: is to have as many different stamps on every page in my passport. My passion for adventures in traveling with a passport has grown immensely. Let me share with you one of my adventures with a passport. My holiday in New Zealand and Australia ended far too soon, and I found myself saying goodbye. Little did I know the adventures that awaited me. At the check-in counter in Sydney, I was informed, "Madam, your luggage cannot be checked through to Namibia. You have to collect it in Windhoek." Well, who am I to argue? Upon arriving in Johannesburg late the afternoon, I proceeded to the arrivals counter instead of the transit counter. When I finally reached the conveyor belt, it was empty. No luggage. Where is my luggage? Just as I was embracing myself for a full-blown panic, I received the fantastic news. "Madam, your luggage has been checked through to Windhoek." Oh, what a sigh of relief. I rushed to the departure counter for another stamp in my passport. I have now officially left South Africa. The real shock came when I reached gate 22 for my departure. I looked at it. It said, "Gate closed." That was just the beginning of my adventure. The message is clear. I am stranded in Johannesburg. With poor cell phone reception and a nearly dead battery, I finally informed my family in Windhoek, "Hey, I am not coming today." My passport was missing another stamp, an entry stamp. I hurried back through the crowd to the arrival counter to get my stamp, re-entry into South Africa. Following a restless night, I was driven by that unwavering determination to get home, and I finally reached the airport. Arriving at home, I rushed to the conveyor belt. Where is my luggage? After an inquiry, I learned that it had not even left Sydney in Australia. Fast forward. Despite these obstacles, my desire to take on new adventures is ever increasing. Susan Sontag said, "I have not been everywhere, but it's on my list." And on mine as well. However, the 2020 pandemic shattered my dreams of traveling. What now? Ladies and gentlemen, the big question was, what now? I embarked on a new adventure. My passion for adventure in traveling with the password has significantly surpassed that desire for traveling with a passport. Connecting via Zoom let me meet people globally and ignite new adventures. I have called myself Zoom hopper in those days. I will always cherish the excitement of mastering Zoom technology for a baby boomer. particularly in those moments when everything aligns perfectly. Let me share with you one of my adventures with the password. Where's my speech? I glance at my laptop, noticing a frozen screen. Oh, my visuals disappear, and the display goes blank. Those audio disturbances, you can hear the silence. Until I hear those 3 magic words, you are muted. Where's my Wi-Fi? I suddenly got disconnected during the presentation. Could anything weirder happen? Talk about staying cool, calm, and collected under pressure. But hey, these experiences enhance my problem-solving abilities and enable me to learn new aspects of technology. When I participate in virtual meetings now, it is an exhilarating experience. Through technology, connection, and creativity, I can join Toastmasters meeting globally just with a single click. No passport, only a password. Thus, my goal is to never, ever run out of passwords. Hey, but keep them secret, please. Ladies and gentlemen, curiosity and the desire to explore are universal. You know that. Everybody wants to travel. Discovery isn't limited to geography or technology. Whether through travel or digital exploration, the journey matters. That is the main thing, the journey. Some of us hop onto planes, others launch the browser. Whether you hold a passport in your hand or type a passport word on your screen, you are not alone. You are joined by a global community driven by the same spirit. The true journey starts with a bold declaration, a passport or a password. One unlocks the borders, the other one unlocks your screen. Mr. Day Chair.
I'm loving this. The Zoom Whopper or the Zoom Traveler. And thanks for sharing your passion for traveling the world, not only with the passport, but with the password. I'm loving the play on words. The grammarian in me loved those words. Exhilarating. And traveling is not limited by geography. You know what? Let me stop, because now it's like I'm delivering a grammarian report. I'll pause right there, and then we are moving on to our next speaker, speaker number 6. And while we are welcoming our speaker number 6, I just want to welcome Umlazi Toastmasters that is sending greetings in the chat from KZN, the only province with a surname, KwaZulu Natal. Anyway, we are going to ask the Zoom master to mute those that are not supposed to be speaking so that we can call and allow Erica Mackay to share her story as she's coming on the screen without interruption. All right, Right now, we are handing over to Erica Mackay, who is going to share her story with us, as we have seen 5 stories now before. And this is the second last story that we are going to hear tonight. Over to you, Erica Mackay.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, fellow survivors of the early morning traffic hellscape. Good evening. I'm delighted to be here, given my daily battle with what the National Roads Agency optimistically calls roads, but what I've come to know as linear parking lots. For those unfamiliar with Johannesburg morning traffic, allow me to paint you a picture. Imagine taking everything frustrating about human existence, condensing it into a metal box, then placing that box in a queue of identical metal boxes, all moving at the speed of a particularly lethargic snail. Now imagine paying road tax for the privilege. That's my commute, and I'm sure the commute of many of you. My morning begins at 5:30 a.m., not because I'm an industrious early riser with grand ambitions, but because the M1 has trained me like Pavlov's dog. The alarm sounds, and I immediately start muttering about roadworks. My husband says that I sometimes do this in my sleep too, apparently shouting, "But there's no one there," before rolling over and stealing the duvet. By 6:15, I'm in my car, thermos of coffee in hand, ready to embark on what Google Maps optimistically suggests is a 40-minute journey. Google Maps, I've discovered, has quite a sense of humor. Or perhaps it's measuring in dog minutes. Either way, it's wrong. The first 10 minutes are always deceptively pleasant. The residential roads are clear, the early morning light is breaking, and I'm filled with a dangerous emotion. Hope. Perhaps today will be different, I think. Perhaps today the traffic gods will shine on me. And then I join the motorway. Have you ever noticed how early morning traffic has its own unique phase? There's the initial crawl, where everyone is still pretending that we may actually move soon. Then there's the complete standstill, where you become intimately familiar with the back of a white van, advertising Dave's Plumbing. We won't drain your wallet, though Dave is certainly draining my will to live. And finally, there's what I call the false hope phase, where you accelerate to a whopping 30 kilometers per hour for about 200 meters before screeching to a halt again. During these periods of enforced stillness, I've developed a rich fantasy life. I dream of having a helicopter. I dream of working from home. Sometimes I dream of simply abandoning my car and walking the remaining 20 kilometers. Anything seems preferable to watching the minutes tick by as I stare at the same roadworks ahead, delays expected until 2027 sign that I've been looking at for the last 6 months. The radio doesn't help either. Traffic reports on South African radio have a particular tone, don't they? That forced cheerfulness. And the M1 is experiencing delays between junctions 9 and, well, all of them actually. Back to you in the studio, Dave. Thanks for that insight. I was wondering why I'm looking at the same tree for 25 minutes. Then there are the other drivers. We're all in this together, yet somehow we're bitter enemies. There's a special place in my heart and by heart, I mean my extensive catalogue of road rage for certain types of morning commuters. First, there's phony man, particularly a guy always on the phone that requires dramatic hand gestures despite being alone in his vehicle. These calls apparently also require driving at exactly 49 kilometers per hour in the middle lane. Secondly, there's last minute Larry, who realizes his exit is coming up in approximately 0.3 seconds and cuts across 3 lanes, while the rest of us, who've been patiently queuing for what feels like centuries, watch in horror and fury. My personal favorite, however, is the optimistic weaver, the driver who genuinely believes that changing lanes every 30 seconds will somehow get them to their destination faster. I often see the same weaver in the same traffic light 40 seconds later. We exchange knowing glances. Neither of us has won this game. If you've ever driven in Britain, you'll also know that British weather will only add to any traffic nightmares. There's the early morning sunlight that can be blinding, or the rainy downpours that can also be blinding. Either way, you can't win. The weather in South Africa is a little bit more gentle, but can still be blinding, or not really early morning, more the 3 o'clock time. The downpour in Johannesburg can just kill the roads. I've started timing my commute, not in minutes, but in podcasts. I'm about 2 crime investigations away from the office, I tell my boss when he calls. He's somewhere on the N1, approximately 1 history of ancient Rome away himself. The strangest part of the daily ordeal is how it changes you. I've developed a 6th sense for traffic. I can feel a jam coming kilometers away. My blood pressure rises slightly when I see brake lights in the distance. I've caught myself irrationally hating red cars because one cut me off in 2019 and I'm still not over it. But there's a strange camaraderie in the traffic as well. We're all suffering together in our separate metal boxes. We share knowing looks at petrol stations. We silently communicate through headlight flashes and the grudging wave when someone lets you merge. It's a particular social contract written in exhaust fumes and muttered curses. I've calculated that at my current age, I will spend approximately 14,000 hours of my remaining life in traffic. That's 583 days. I could learn 7 languages in that time. I could write a novel, climb Everest, or watch every episode of Seven de Laan since its inception twice. Instead, I'll be on the M1, crawling along at 4 kilometers per hour, dreaming of teleportation technology and wondering why Dave the plumber has a clearer schedule than I do. So here's to us, the early morning traffic warriors, the coffee clutching, podcast playing, schedule rearranging heroes who somehow make it to work every day, despite the universe's best efforts to prevent it. We may lose hours of our lives to traffic, but we gain, well, I'm still trying to figure out what we gain. Strong bladder control, perhaps. Thank you, and drive safely on your way home. Although between you and me, I'm staying right here with this glass until at least 9 o'clock, because rush hour isn't only for the mornings, and I've already had enough quality time with Dave's plumbing van this week. Back to you, Mr. DJ.
I'm dying here. Erika, thank you so much for vividly explaining and expositing our daily commute in the morning in the Joburg traffic. I love the free advert for Dave's Plumbing and observantly stuck in traffic, and the fact that you remember the guy who speaks with language and on the phone for exactly driving at 59 kilometers per hour in the middle lane, and you have to repeat. And then there's those guys that cut you in 2019, the red car. I remember that one. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for sharing the frustration of so many of us who are stuck in traffic on a daily basis. Excellent delivery. Love it. Thank you so much. By all means, this should not influence your vote. I am just merely expressing because I was dying. I had to make sure I'm on mute because I was dying. Oh my goodness. Okay. So thank you so much. And I see Happiness is also saying, I resonate with you, Erika. The morning traffic in Joburg is unbelievable. But you forgot to mention the potholes on our roads on top of all of those that you exposited for us tonight. Thank you. Thank you so much, Happiness Mlambo, for sharing that. Right now we are moving. All right, I just caught my breath and we are moving to our last speaker for tonight, Matlhogonolo Malebane. Matlhogonolo Malebane is getting ready to deliver that story for us, to share it with us. And get ready. Please do remember, they have 10 minutes and you are the one who's going to vote for the best speaker for tonight. And the best speaker for tonight will then have that free ticket for Saturday night with Vusi Tembekwayo at the gala dinner. Over to you, Matlhogonolo Malebane.
An apple a day keeps the doctor away. That's not good in my business. But seriously, consider an apple seed that is less than 1 millimeter transforms itself into this massive life-giving tree. But for this metamorphosis to happen, the seed has to die to itself. Toastmaster of the day, chair of the day, fellow Toastmasters and guests, good evening. My name is Matlhogonolo, and I'm inviting you to journey with me through the processes of my life that have seen a transformation in how I identify myself. Here's what I'm hoping you'll get out of this, is that all of us, like the seed, we have this massive potential of who we can become, but we often are confined by the narrow stories that we hear from our caregivers, from our teachers, from everybody else. But the call tonight is that if we can, through some introspection, find a definition of who we are, which is more than just a title, but something that resonates with our values and essence, we live a life of less tension that is more aligned with who we're meant to be. I see myself as a gynecologist, but that's my title. But I have now been transformed from a gynae to a gynae. And can you say, Doc, what the hell, man? Well, there's a subtle difference in the spelling. Traditionally, gynae is spelled G-Y-N-E. But who I have become is gynae, G-U-Y-N-E. Like how you spell guy. Some of the gynae guy. Well, what inspired this? It was the 3rd week of October, 2011. That morning, I just could not get out of bed. My head felt like heavy metal. And I don't mean the sort of rock band kind of music. and my feet were jelly-like. I had been sucked into the vortex, the abyss of a deep, dark depression. Even though I could not get out of bed, I got a sense that if I tried to walk, I'd be so slow and sluggish that I'd probably walk about 2 paces behind the back of my shed. What happened? Well, I'm very honest. The very first week of January 2011, my wife called me and described what felt like a lightning bolt on the lower abdomen. We went to the hospital, and what felt like a lifetime later, the doctor came out and told me that we'd had a miscarriage. Not 1, but 2 babies lost. My life had never been the same. Because in my daily duties, I was this hero guy, delivering multiple pregnancies, triplets, quadruplets, performing complex operations. But when it mattered most, I could not protect the person that I love with all my heart from experiencing pregnancy loss. And my wife tells me that for a couple of months thereafter, I really was just a shadow of myself. I was a shell. It felt as though nothing that I did felt complete. My whole life was a coma. With her loving support, I was able to reconfigure my identity. And she made me realize that the mistake I had made, that I was defining my worth and identity with what I do. So when it all came down, and I wasn't able to save her from losing the pregnancy, everything that I thought of myself, poof, came to naught. It felt like my identity was like ice cream exposed to the sun, just melted away. Like a woolen blanket that is torn apart by pulling out the threads. Everything just came to absolute zero. In time, things got better. But I always had that emptiness inside me. I just could not figure out what the hell was going on with me. Was this it? Or was there more to me? And fortunately, as fate would have it, 3 events conflated to change my reality. The first one is that I graduated with a master's in philosophy. And in the same year, I did a course in business and professional coaching. I was also appointed as the head of gynecology in one of the local hospitals. But even prior to this, what sparked another existential crisis was that following the pregnancy loss, this emptiness, this kind of really just not knowing I was the master of my game, kept haunting me. And in 2017, I loved my practice and walked away from it all. I set up a firm that allowed me to work from home. So my wife and I had gone awesome dates as many times as we wanted to. And I could even read bedtime stories, animated for my children. Life could not be better. Well, then COVID came, wonderful COVID, and the business tanked. And then I found myself again in the desert of identity. And these moments of existential crisis reminds me of a quote by Philip Brooks that says, you feel the thing that you ought to be beating beneath the thing that you are. And as I pointed out, 3 things conflated to reverse the losses and gave me a sense of meaning and purpose. But of the 3, I think life coaching did it for me. Because in life coaching, the assumption is that every individual is complete. You have within yourself the concerns and the answers. And what a good coach does is help you declutter by asking probing questions. They help you shut out the outside noise, and listen to the inner navigation that allows you and lets you figure out who you really ought to be and how to live your life. Now, this has also changed me because I find now, even in the hospital, instead of what I would do when I was still a young guy, when a patient had a bad outcome, miscarriage or stillbirth, I'd be very hurriedly telling them about the statistic, 30% of this and that. As a gynae, the gynae guy, I now recognize that it's not my story, it's their story. So when I sit in silence, this creates a holy ground where through my vulnerability, I can listen and learn. This has impacted all of my life, whether in my role as a father, as a husband, even in the hospital. When I get to the hospital now, every patient I greet with their hand, feel their pulse, are you nervous, and try and calm people down. But here's what I've learned. When I live a life that is commensurate with my values, I live a life that is full of purpose and full of meaning. So as the gynae guy, even though I work at the hospital, as a gynae, working with pregnant women, in my practice as a life coach, I work with people that have different pregnancies. I sometimes have to work with a guy who is establishing a business, or who might come and say, I've got an idea that is going to transform how e-commerce is working. Or a young student who is going to university and wants to figure out, how do I align my career with what honors me? And in all of this, I've got to wear different hats. But I've also learned that just like the sea, all of us have this massive potential within ourselves. If only we get the stillness and the time to try and figure out, through question, trial and error, who we ought to be. I'd like to leave with a quote from George W. Cecil, and it says, in the plains of hesitation, bleached countless millions of bones, who, at the dawn of decision, sat down to wait, and waiting died. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Matlhogonolo, for opening our eyes and sharing that story that indeed a Toastmaster wears many hats. And I like the fact, the way you call yourself a gynae's guy, a gynae guy. I love that. My guy. Thank you so much for sharing that. When you live life that is aligned to your values, then you are living with purpose. That is so loaded. And thank you so much for sharing and that journey with us. And I see there's comments that are still coming in. And right now, I don't want to hold the vote. It's now the time to ensure that you do the voting. But as you are, as Madam Zoomaster, you are arranging that poll for the vote, I'm just going to read the comments that came afterwards as we were listening to the gynae guy. Okay, the votes should be on the screen. Please do select your best speaker, best storyteller. So there's a comment from Nontobeko saying, excellent storytelling from all our speakers tonight. Thank you for sharing your stories. We really appreciate this. And Nontobeko also is suggesting that maybe we should consider that, but the new cabinet will talk about it, that we consider a storytelling contest, but that is something that can be spoken about. Nontobeko, thank you so much for your comment there. And then Ntisang is also saying, coffee sipping podcast shuffling heroes on our roads while in traffic. And then Felicia says, I loved the traffic report. Stay home, dear Erica, just stay home. And I guess that is the solution to avoid that. All right, those are the comments that came in. And Madam Zoom Master, can you just confirm if the votes, or should we give the votes maybe extra 2-3 minutes?
I think an extra minute was 75%.
Okay, we are right at 85%, 75%. So let's please continue to vote. Make sure that you cast your vote and hit that submit. And quoting some of the speakers, there are some baby boomers in the house who are, I'm encouraging as well to please don't forget to hit that submit button so that it can go through. Thank you so much for that. Good storytelling from all the speakers to deliver messages and lessons. We've learned a lot. I agree with that, Intesang. And I see Brighton is saying, Coralie, great, you've done it. Suspecting the sneaky nurses. I can't wait for the book. And then Nicola Mathieson, indeed, half empty or half full are the same. Reminds me of whether you think you can or you can't. You are right. And then Tafara is commenting that it's our beautiful boy. Let's bring back the naming rights. And then baby boomers and social media is a dangerous mix. Amazing mix. Okay, great. Love it for CJ there. And there's a comment for Erica. Teleporting works for me too. Beam me up, Scotty. And Hannah, there's a comment for Hannah there. Passport or password, all the same for me. I lose both. And then Matlhogonolo, a comment for Matlhogonolo, interesting profession. Someone has to do it. And then there's a comment from Naomi. Thank you to all storytellers. It was inspiring. Sometimes suspense-filled and laced with humor. Indeed, I agree, Naomi. And then Sahametsi also says, storytellers were on fire tonight. They indeed were on fire. All right, Madam Zoom Master, can you just confirm if we are still okay, or should we add one more minute?
So I have ended the poll and I'm sharing the result with you. So you may announce. So you may announce.
Okay. All right. Here's how I'm going to announce the results as soon as they come in. We're going to announce them just like we announced the contest results. I'm going to start with position 3, position 2, and position 1. And I would like us to work together to ensure that we do the drum rolls as we are doing that. All right. Position number 3, we have, can I get those drum rolls? Position number 3 for tonight. Here are the results. They just arrived. All right. I love it. Matlhogonolo Malebane, position number 3. Let's congratulate Matlhogonolo for being the third best communicator tonight. Thank you so much. And then position number 2, we are going to, there's Matlhogonolo. My guy. All right. Wearing many hats. Right. Drum rolls, please, as we go to position number 2. All right. Position number 2 is Hannah Schmidt. Hannah Schmidt is position number 2. Congratulations, Hannah, for being the second best storyteller tonight. Congratulations to you. And
just wanted to spotlight Hannah.
Oh, Hannah is not on video. Okay, all right. Did you spotlight her? There she is. Passport or password? Love it. Thank you so much, Hannah, for sharing that story and for those lessons and your passion for traveling. And then drum rolls for our winner for tonight, who is going to get a ticket for a night with Vusi Tembekwayo on Saturday night. Great. Love it, Nontobeko and Naomi, for those drum rolls. Our drum rolls and our winner for tonight is Erica Mackay, the Roarcon online storyteller, tonight is Erica Mackay. Congratulations, Erica. Congratulations, Hannah. Congratulations, Matlhogonolo. And congratulations to everyone for voting and for listening. And I see we stayed over 50 throughout this 1.5 hour, 90 minutes with our storytellers in Roarcon. Thank you, Erica, and congratulations. See you on Saturday night with Vusi Tembekwayo. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of tonight's Roarcon Online, and the online conference officially ends tonight. But please do watch in the chat. There is a message there. Please do watch that message and click on those links. Feel free to ensure that you take that message and invite others to as well. But remember, tomorrow we're starting the Roarcon in person in Muldersdrift, and we are starting. It's an opening ceremony tomorrow, and it's on Friday. Is going to be contest, is the table topics and evaluations contest, district contest, and then Saturday is the international speech contest for District 74. Then we are going to walk on fire with Kuabas, and then in the evening we will be with Vusi Tembekwayo. Right now, we are now officially ending the Roarcon Online, but let's end it like this in style. Please, all of you unmute so that we can all end with a roar, unleashing it from the inner parts of ourselves and through our vocal cords as Toastmasters. 1, 2, 3, let's go. Roar! 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 All right, thank you so much. Madam Toastmaster, let's do that. Madam Toastmaster, let's do that.